Unidos se está planteando hacerlo. Bueno, me parece que ya tenemos con nosotros al siguiente invitado para hablar un poco en un plano más internacional de lo que está pasando ahora mismo en los mercados financieros. Tenemos a Kevin Thozet, que es miembro del comité estratégico de inversión de Carmignac. Kevin, thank you so much for being here in Negocios Televisión. Good afternoon.
Hola, good afternoon.
Perdona, Kevin, que no sabía que hablabas castellano. Bueno, vamos contigo entonces con esta entrevista. Me parece que me dicen mis compañeros que tiene que ser en inglés, así que vamos a proceder en inglés. Kevin, which investment opportunities are you identifying in the current context right now?
Well, we clearly believe that there's many opportunities to be had in the current environment. The first one is on equities, I would say. Several reasons for this. Clearly, what has been a strong headwind for equities over the past months, over the past year, has been this upward trend on inflation. We have been embarking in this disinflationary trend since last fall, and we expect this to continue going forward and to be helping equity markets going forward. Even more so because we are seeing different cracks appearing in the system after this very strong normalization path and strong path of higher interest rates. And there are again some responses by central bankers in the face of these cracks, which will be lesser and lesser again pressure on the interest rate side. The recession is a risk for equities markets, but it's still far away. We don't expect recession to hit the US until the second half of 2023, and that's a long period of time for financial markets. So clearly there's this wall of worry, I would say, that is to be climbed, even more so as the positioning of investors on equity markets is particularly light. So that's one strong area of performance, and there's a very strong, I'd say, good window of opportunity going forward. If we're looking at bonds on core issuers, again, we think there are opportunities there. One of the strong, I would say, factors and markers of the first quarter of this year has been the anti-correlation between prices of equities, prices of corporate debt, and prices of bonds issued by well-rated issuers. So again, there's value to be buying those equity markets and also to be buying some form of safe assets or safer assets in the form of core government bonds, be it issued by the US government or the German government. Then the point on the yield curve really depends on how severe you want to expect the recession to be. If it's a very severe one, I would tend to favor 10-year maturities. If it's more of, I'd say, mild recession, we'd rather favor 2-year maturities.
Kevin, after the OPEC Plus decision on Sunday, that was made public on Sunday on the oil output, do you think that it's time to be long on oil and on energy markets in general?
Well, yes. Long on oil, we have seen clearly a very strong move already. We had seen already a strong move from the low of the past month or so in the wake of the regional bank crisis in the US, and we had seen some form of recovery of the oil market. We have seen again a very strong rebound in the aftermath of this surprise decision by OPEC to reduce production quite significantly. Again, I would like to point out the fact that the cuts which are being implemented, 1.6 million barrels per day, is very significant. It's, I'd say, equivalent to the Spanish or the French consumption of oil, and that's very significant. It's again corresponds to more or less what the US consumption had been shed during the great financial crisis from peak to trough. So that's quite significant. What we expect, I'd say, so this very significant, I'd say, cut has implication and provides some form of floor on oil prices, let's say around $60, $65, give or take. But we also have a ceiling on how far oil prices can go. Why that is? Because clearly we are expecting slower economic growth and slower economic outlook down the road, and that those recessionary pressure are mounting. So again, it's very, I'd say it's, we wouldn't believe to see oil prices climbing all the way up to triple-digit figures.
Speaking of central banks, do you think the Federal Reserve or the ECB still have a couple of rate hikes in the horizon? For example, in the next few meetings, do you believe that they will hike rates more than once?
Yeah, well, there's For the European Central Bank, there's clearly a case for them to rise interest rates more than one time going forward. And why that is? Because again, now we are seeing the transmission mechanism at play in the euro area with regards to the hiking of interest rates. We are seeing slower credit growth, and credit growth is slowing very fast for both households and corporates. We're seeing households, companies which are no longer investing, they are saving, and sometimes on very short-term maturities and short-term instruments. So again, monetary policies or higher interest rates are working, they are diffusing, but what we are seeing and what the European Central Bank is likely seeing as well is that there's still some form of wage inflation pressure. And this is likely a very strong cause for concern for the European Central Bank. Again, and we have seen negotiated wages across the euro area moving from 3.5% on a year-on-year basis to close to 5% on a year-on-year basis. And that's over the past 12 months or so. So that's very much likely keeping Mrs. Lagarde and her colleagues awake at night, even more so because what we are seeing is that if headline inflation is rolling over, is falling, core inflation is still there, and core inflation is still continuing to accelerate, and it's continuing to accelerate, and it will continue to accelerate up until the summer. So what we do believe is that the European Central Bank will at least conduct 2 times 25 basis points hikes, and 50 basis point hike for the next meeting is clearly on the cards as well. In the US, the story is a bit, I'd say, different, but we do also expect one more hike going forward, which is not really priced in by markets today. The Federal Reserve has started to hike rates very much in advance of the European Central Bank. It has hiked up to the breaking point, as we have seen with the regional bank crisis in the US. Now it's for the US economy to kind of diffuse those higher interest rates in the economy and to weigh on demand.
Tiene sentido. Kevin Thozet, miembro del comité estratégico de inversión de Carmignac, thank you so much for being here. I hope you had a good time here in Negocios Televisión.
Muchas gracias.